are EVs reliable? And I would say yes. Like, I would say emphatically yes. What we are trying to think through is the real question is the network reliable, right? Like, the car itself is going to do its job. We know that the car will drive 200, 300, 400 miles depending on your battery. When we think of where charging technology is going and where batteries are going, there's this intersectional point where if you have the right kind of battery, then you could charge your vehicle in 10 to 15 minutes. And you can make sure that you're getting a full charge. So right now we think of a fast charging experience like 20 minutes will get you 80% of your charge. But there are companies that are working on new batteries and new charging capabilities where you'd be able to do 10 minutes or less. And I think that is kind of what we're trying to get closest to, right? How do you replicate, for a lot of people, the gas experience where you're not waiting at a gas station for 20 minutes as you're refueling, but you're there for less than 10. And so what you really see is that, it takes the vehicle to be able to accept this huge amount of energy, and it takes a charger to be able to kind of put out a huge amount of energy. And so two things are kind of advancing at the same time. Vehicle technology is getting better, where your battery can take in a lot of energy at the same time. And then chargers are getting better, where they're putting out a lot of energy in a smaller amount of time. And so that charging experience becomes very quick and very efficient.
I think there are some myths about electric vehicles that have made their way kind of into a lot of people's understanding. Myths around the infrastructure not being there, and in fact the state, local jurisdictions, and even the federal government have invested a ton of money into building chargers, building charging capacity, and a lot of that is still forthcoming and being planned and under construction now. But we're really going to see in the next few years way more infrastructure that folks will be able to access. And so, people talk about having range anxiety, right? Having a limited, number of miles that they can go in the vehicle that they're driving. But a lot of this new infrastructure is really gonna change that for people, and they'll be able to access charging at low costs all over the state and all over the country pretty soon. And additionally, here in Sacramento County, we're privileged to have the SMUD, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, here that offers very low rates compared to other, utilities in California. And so those low rates just further enable people to affordably access electric transportation.
So if you're on a long trip in an electric vehicle, the good news is that there's more and more of this public fast charging being installed all over California, really all over the United States. On long major corridors like Interstate 5 or Highway 99, more and more charging stations are going in. So the way you find those is becoming easier and easier. There are phone apps that you can go on and you can look up, say for instance, PlugShare or ChargeWay, and they actually will guide you to the nearest charging stations. But more and more of the vehicles, their navigation systems, there's just a little button. You push it and it'll show you where the nearest chargers are. Some vehicles, they'll map out your entire trip. So if you're going from, say, Los Angeles to Sacramento, you dial in your coordinates where you're going, and it knows where you're at, and it'll say, hey, you can go about 200 miles and there's a charging station. And there are 20 charging stations there, 2 of them are broken, but and there's 3 of them in use right now. So you're good to go, and it gives you little updates as you drive. So when you pull in, you plug in, you charge, you might grab a bite to eat while you're waiting, and then you're back on the road again. So it's becoming much easier, and many of the vehicles now are becoming just that sophisticated.
So batteries are not to be hyperbolic, but they're the most important thing that the most important tool in our toolbox to combat the climate crisis. As I mentioned, we started off with this dominant chemistry of nickel, manganese, cobalt, NMC. We're moving towards LFP. We're seeing new next generation technologies being developed, sodium ion batteries, solid state batteries, redox flow batteries. There are all kinds of technologies that are being tested, are being marketized right now. And I fully expect to see a really diverse market of different types of batteries.
There are other improvements on the horizon. So over the next 5 to 10 years, we hope to see an improvement in what's called a solid state battery that is said to be smaller, more energy dense, so it holds more energy in a smaller space, which is going to bring the cost down, but it'll also hold more energy too, so that you don't have to refuel as often. There are 3 basic levels of charging. The level 1 that plugs into a 120 volt outlet, level 2 which plugs into a 240 volt outlet and will be more powerful and charge your car more quickly, and then what's referred to as fast charging, or with Tesla, supercharging. And those are very high powered chargers that you're only going to find out in public. So level 1 and level 2 are typically home charging. You do find them sometimes at doctor's office, at malls, places where you tend to spend a lot of time. But the fast charging is there usually when you need a lot of power quick. You don't want to spend a lot of time. It's more like a gas station.
You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there. People say EVs aren't actually as clean as you say they are because, you know, our electricity is still coming from fossil fuels. And that's where the battery is so important, because you can use a battery for your car, and you also can use your battery as what we call grid scale storage. And so grid scale storage is essentially, if you think about it, we produce our solar with our solar panels, we produce our wind with our wind turbines, but the sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day, the wind doesn't blow 24 hours a day. And so when that power is generated by your solar or by your wind or other renewables, the battery stores that excess energy that you're not using. And so then you get to deploy that battery at nighttime or when it's not windy. And that ensures that we don't have to use things like gas in the nighttime in order to power our homes, to power our buildings, to power our industry. So those batteries are absolutely critical.